Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mrs. Richards, may I please have the roll call?
President Anderson, let the record show that all 5 board members are present.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I motion to approve the agenda. Second. Motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Richards, do you have Higley Adventures and upcoming events for us tonight?
Yes, President Anderson, members of the board, here's our first segment of Higley Adventures for this school year. We're very excited to acknowledge some star students. So first, I would, in a minute, want you guys to come down and take a picture. So when I call Rosie up, will you guys transition down as well? All right, we want to highlight Rosie Whitmer. She joined the Student Advisory Council for Character Education with the Arizona Department of Education. This council consists of 10 students, only 10, and one of them's from Higley, in grades K through 12. They were accompanied by their parents or teachers from across the state. Great job, Rosie. We are so proud of you. You are a leader in an amazing way, and you represent Chaparral Elementary as well. So come on down, Rosie. What grade are you in?
I'm in 3rd. 4th.
All right. Awesome. We're going to take a quick picture. Every time I go to Chaparral, I see Rosie doing something in an amazing way. Next, we have somebody from Higley High School. His name is Prince Millman. He capped off his summer track season by winning the 2nd consecutive USA Track and Field Regional Decathlon Championship, earning a gold medal. We're going to clap, and then I'm going to keep going because it goes on and on. Prince also returned from the USA Track and Field National Junior Olympics, ranked as the 9th best decathlete in the nation. Wow. There's lots of clapping. At the Regional Junior Olympics in Colorado, Prince competed against athletes from Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas. This is incredible. At this National Junior Olympics at Texas A&M University, he faced top decathletes from across the United States and was the only athlete representing Arizona in the 17-18 men's decathlon. Prince ended his junior year with a personal best of 5,814 points in the decathlon, making him 9th nationally. He aims to top the podium in his senior year, compete at a collegiate decathlete, and has set sights on, guess what? The 2028 Olympics. All right, guys. You want to say anything?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so hi everyone. Obviously, my name is Prince Millman. I'm a senior at Higley. I'm also on the mural that you guys see in the parking lot at Higley High School representing the track and field program. And I have my aim set to have a pop-off senior year. Proud to represent Higley and just get another state title, get a national title, and go on to Division I college and hopefully 2028. Thank you.
And finally, this evening, we want to recognize Gilbert Youth Leadership Academy. Over summer break, Gilbert PD school resource officers hosted 2 youth leadership academies where students from 7 different high schools participated. Higley High, of course, had a great representation. So I'm going to ask Officer Kyle Aerosmith to come forward and invite his students to join him.
Thank you so much. Each of you has to speak at least for 2 minutes, right? That's what we talked about, our public speaking presentations. Good evening, I'm Officer Aerosmith. These are the Gilbert Youth Academy graduates. And I'd just like to introduce them really quick, and then you could raise your hand. If you're here, there's a few names that didn't show up. We can give them a hard time later. I think one of them's in Disneyland. I don't know if that's a valid excuse, but we're going to go for it. Max Gomez, Connor Hyde, Hunter Jones, Brady McIntyre, Xavier Nixon, Kaylee Payton, Charlie Wakeoff, Chloe Cowden, Mitchell Patton, Hadassah Poku, Tony Starks, Carson Wingert, and Mia Onofre. They did a great job all week long, and we're proud to have them at Higley and being our future leaders. Thank you all.
President Anderson, members of the board, upcoming events include dangers of Snapchat. That's a parent information meeting here in the district office boardroom. Also, on Monday, September 2nd, we have a holiday, which we call Labor Day. We're excited about that. The following Monday, I hope the governing board can join us for the East Valley School Board Consortium That's where we invite surrounding districts, their superintendents, and their governing board members to have dinner and converse about amazing things happening in the state. And then on Thursday, September 12th, we will visit Gateway Point Elementary. So mark your calendars for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. All right, next are the requests to speak. If we could go ahead and play the video.
We value input from our constituents. This time on our agenda has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Those that wish to speak should have filled out speaker cards, which are due prior to the start of our meeting. Members of the board may not discuss, comment, or take action on matters raised that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01I, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Also, we ask that audience members practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from either negative or positive responses, including clapping or verbal outbursts, to ensure fairness to all points of view. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. In accordance with Policy BEDH public participation at board meetings, if considered necessary, the governing board president shall set a time limit on the length of the comment period in order to ensure that each individual has an opportunity to address the board. The president may also set a time limit for individual speakers. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, tonight each person will have the regular 3 minutes to address the board. First will be Barbara Summers.
Yes, okay. Hello, I didn't plan to speak tonight, but when I saw all these wonderful students here, I thought it would be a great time to take an opportunity to talk about the CTE program because it is on the agenda today. I just have nothing but positive things to say about our CTE offerings here in our district, and I really think that we should really highlight those to parents and incoming families and those that are new to high school. Took till I got to my last child before anyone was interested in CTE, but my son is in one of the programs with engineering and loves it, and I am so glad that they were able to get to experience some of those offerings because otherwise I don't think he would have any idea what he wanted to do in college. That's it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Next we have Brittany O'Neill.
Hi, my name is Brittany O'Neill, and I'm an English teacher at Williamsfield High School. Every day in the classroom, I feel fortunate to do a job I love and one that is as important as education is. I teach the Honors Multicultural Literature course, a dual enrollment course that is not required for graduation. To give you an idea of my qualifications, I hold a bachelor's in literature, a master's in secondary education, and a master's in English education. I spent the entire summer creating a comprehensive list of literature for students to get the very best education they could in this class. Per the course description provided by CGCC, these texts span across Asian, Arab, African, and Native American literature and range over the past century with books that are expected to be at a college rigor. My education, following policy, and teaching approved novels do not prevent the litany of harassment and bullying I am receiving this year. By the end of the first week of school, I had a parent accusing me of disseminating child pornography and being a groomer, solely based on the approved literature being offered. By the end of the second week of school, this parent had called other parents of students in my class, attempted to have the police open an investigation against me, and spread lies about my course in an attempt to irrevocably damage my reputation, not only as an educator, but as a human being. 1 month into school, I have a student who tells my other students how much I am hated by his parents, that his parents are working to have me fired, and that they are actively gathering parents in hopes of pressing criminal charges against me. My students have had to deal with undue stress, not because of me, the board-approved books, or my class, but because one parent decided to try and impose his will on them. Every attempt to defame me has failed, and yet this parent persists. I wonder who's coaching and encouraging him. Luckily, he's been very vocal about the help he's been getting from this person, a board member, and I hope that that is reported so that we can remove the unethical and unprofessional behavior taking place within our own board. I guess being an ambassador is hard. Let me reiterate, this parent finds my class and me so reprehensible that he tried to have Gilbert police investigate me, and yet his child still sits in my classroom every day. He's threatened a lawsuit against me, and still his child sits in my class. His wife and he have open disdain and hatred towards me that they share with anyone who will listen, and still their child sits in my class. If I can be accused of having an agenda, then I must ask, what is this parent's agenda? The two sections of this course have 64 students. 63 students were given permission to read the book. Allowing a minority to dictate what can be taught in our district is not respecting parental rights. Respecting parental rights is respecting all parent choice. We cannot let the loud minority have more control than the parental majority, especially when their evidence comes from a site called Book Looks that openly admits to having no professional training in education or literature and does not use any measure of literary merit when critiquing a text, not even the Miller test. It has barely been a month since we adopted a new procedure to address situations like this in a way that puts the needs of students, parents, and teachers at the forefront. My request is that we uphold the policy in place and show our support for education and teachers, not just for being teachers, but for being educated, trained professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jillian Blaine.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, and cabinet members. I want to take the opportunity to come before you today and give some much-deserved congratulations to Williamsfield Teacher of the Month, Miss O'Neill. I first met Miss O'Neill when she chaperoned our Link Crew field trip back in February, where she did not hesitate to connect with everyone she met and made sure everyone had everything they needed. And she doesn't hesitate to include that in both field trips and in the classroom. I may have only been her student for 6 weeks, but Miss O'Neill makes it feel like I've known her for years. The effort and dedication she puts into her classes and her curriculum makes me as a student so grateful. Miss O'Neill also helps run our Best Buddies program and is a STUCO advisor to our junior class. She is someone who will always sit and listen to your bad day or your greatest accomplishments. So to add to the certificate she will get for her wall, I just wanted to give her a special shout out for all she does for our school and her students. And I also want to give a small special shout out to our Student of the Month, Link Crew President Braxton Worsley. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Bryson Churchill.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashton Churchill. I am a student under the Higley Unified School District enrolled in the Honors Multicultural Program at Williamsfield High School. As such, I believe I can offer an important and more unique point of view into the issue on its curriculum. I should hope we can all agree that it is well time enough for a wake-up call given to the students here at HUSD. We in this class are seniors in high school. Many of us are nearly legal adults. We will soon be voting in elections, moving away from our parents, entering the full-time workforce, and overall diving into the complexities of real-world living. It is time to stop running from such genuine and pertinent topics such as those found in our assigned academic reading. The foundation of a school ground should be to prepare students for the life they have yet to live. It is bizarre to me to think that we can churn out more functional members of society by ignoring facets of human history and shunning different worldviews, however uncomfortable they might be. Our educators are professionally trained to pick out materials they see fit for their students. I personally place my trust in their judgment. However, if you as a parental figure truly cannot allow yourself to see your child receive a versatile and effective education in this manner, it is never mandatory to. Every book we read is very public information. You are more than welcome to form your own opinion on a work and choose to opt out of allowing your child to partake in the reading. There are clear guidelines for a backup plan in that event. I fail to see why it should be anyone's choice to police what other parents' children can and cannot learn. I've seen people all across this country attempting to control masses of people through book bannings and other similar attacks. I cannot allow myself to see it happen in my own school that I have grown to truly love and respect until now. The uncomfort that you may feel reading about these topics is a genuine struggle for people that have walked, do walk, and will walk this earth. I have trouble standing back to allow a yearning for blissful ignorance to shield our children from obtaining the best education they can possibly receive. Yagyasi's Homegoing and any other book, especially those which expertly delve into different influential cultural events such as this one, have no place on a list of forbidden information. And I truly pray that you can see that the same way I and many of my peers do as well. Thank you for your time, and I trust that you will make the right decision for our future.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer, and is it Watkins?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good, thank you.
All right, my name is Jennifer Watkins, and I am a former teacher, and I also currently work as a substitute teacher. And when I first heard about a parent causing a ruckus over a book, I honestly wasn't surprised. This is not the first time that's ever happened, and nor will it be the last. Parents frequently get upset over required books in required classes. But that's just the thing. This is not a required class, and it is not a required reading, which makes any request kind of moot. What does surprise me is that the parent isn't asking a book to be struck from the list. They're not asking for an alternate assignment, as is the usual around the country when this happens. They're asking to go after the teacher's contract, the teacher's reputation, and the teacher's career. What surprises me even more is that we have to give voice and stage to the issue at a board meeting. And I would just like to remind everyone that this is a multicultural class where students are expected to be introduced to views that are not their own. And so by trying to limit one perspective and limit one opinion, we are going against the fundamental nature of the class that was enrolled for. Based on any action that the district takes, I would like to remind that this sets a precedent for any other issue in the future that parents have concerns on. This is no longer about a book. This is about approved curriculum that teachers are teaching. Based on any action that the agenda takes, what happens the next time that a parent is upset over a sex ed curriculum? Instead of the standard pull your kid out for that week or that unit, will they now go after the teacher's job? Based on any action that is taken, what about the next time a biology teacher wants to teach Big Bang Theory or evolution as a possibility? Instead of parents advocating to have divine creation as a part of the curriculum, will they now go after the teacher's job? Based on any action taken, what about a statistics teacher who includes a study on marriages that happens to include same-sex couples? Instead of a parent asking for a different study to be used, will they now go after the teacher's job? I am a Christian and I come from a very conservative family. I don't personally align with a lot of the examples given, but I also believe that schools should be a safe place where students can be exposed to a variety of beliefs and opinions and cultures and are taught how to appropriately and respectfully respond to them under the guidance of adults who care. We need to teach them now how to respond to things that will happen and will come up later in life, especially as they brought out, as they are becoming prepared to vote. One perspective out of thousands should not be allowed to define a curriculum or even a career. Not my opinion, not their opinion, not one opinion should define a curriculum. That's why we have committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have June Blaine.
Good evening, Governing Board President Anderson, Governing Board members, Cabinet. Parenting is hard. I think we can all agree. I think we can also agree that sometimes we need support. It reminds me of the phrase, it takes a village. But that village shouldn't be unsolicited advice. We can ask the village when we need help, and we align ourselves with people in our village to be able to provide that support, not to tell us what we need to do as parents. I'm frustrated with what the Higley Village is kind of becoming. It feels very divisive, and we haven't had that. And I have been in this district for 21 years now, and it has never felt this contentious. We need to do better. We need to support one another as parents, as community members, and we need to make sure that we are supporting each other and not trying to impose our thoughts and our beliefs on other people's children. I get to decide what my children get to do. I would never presume that I have the right to tell another parent what their kid should or shouldn't do, nor do I have the right to take away their decision-making options when it comes to curriculum. If they have a problem with it, we have those things in place so that they can make those choices for their families. I get to choose what my kid gets to do as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Jessica D'Ambrosio.
Good evening, and thank you to the Governing Board, the Cabinet, and Superintendent Richards for allowing me time to speak this evening. My name is Jessica D'Ambrosio, and I am the parent to 2 HUSD students. My students, who are now high schoolers, have attended HUSD school since kindergarten. My husband and I have been active partners with our sons and their teachers throughout their elementary, middle, and high school experiences. I am profoundly impressed with the education my sons have been given and the knowledge and understanding about the world around them that they have learned. Through careful selection of content and intentional planning and questioning, the highly qualified instructors of HUSD have helped challenge my sons to seek to understand differing perspectives, to think critically, and to apply learning to real-world scenarios. I commend these dedicated and professional educators for their work with my sons, as well as the leadership that works to support the professional craft and knowledge of our teachers. It has come to my attention that a handful of parents are concerned about the content found within literature selections for the Honors Multicultural Literature class at Williamsfield High School. These parents are given the opportunity to address the board this evening to share those concerns. As a parent of a student in this class, I would like to voice a differing opinion that this handful of parents may find understanding in. When my son read 1,000 Splendid Sons, a quick search told me that he would read about the abuse in a childhood arranged marriage, an absent father, rape, violence, and war. It was one of the most moving and memorable books that I had ever read, and my son and I shared our thoughts together about post-1970s Afghanistan. When my son read Just Mercy, a quick search told me there would be murder and racism and wrongful imprisonment, but it would also teach my son about a time in American history and a region he'd never visited, about resiliency, about conviction of character, and mercy. Books take you places you've never been before to give you diverse perspectives through storytelling and to enrich, enlighten, and empower. For parents who do not see books the way I see them, by all means, please select a different curriculum to broaden your students' horizons, but do not infringe upon my students' rights to educational enrichment by suggesting a ban on books that you don't approve of. If you feel that these books are unsafe for your student to read, I have to ask you, how will you make their school safer? Will you vote in favor of the bond that will be on your ballot this November? The bond will provide upgrades to our school safety and security. If you feel that classroom resources should be more broad to fit the diverse needs and opinions of our community, and the instruction more differentiated to honor every household's moral code, will you vote yes for the override this November? The override will help to recruit and retain educators who are highly qualified per the state of Arizona and will allow for HUSD the access to more resources. Again, thank you to all of HUSD for all you do each and every day for our youth and for the future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dominic D'Ambrosio.
Good evening. Thank you to the governing board and the cabinet and Superintendent Richards for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Dominic Ambrosio. I'm currently enrolled as a senior over at Williamsfield High School. I'm the son of an educator who has taught in the district for the past 17 years, and I myself have been here for 12. Enough about my personal status with the district. Let's talk about our current educational rights. Only as of recent have I witnessed books getting taken away from our curriculum. Last year, we had a conflict with a popular yet sensitive novel, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, expressing the idea of finding yourself, as well as an idea of inclusivity, channeling and connecting to teens who can relate to those situations the main character Charlie had been exposed to. Although I can understand as to how some parents are upset with the sensitive natures the book explores, it connects with us teens, giving us something to relate to, as well as something to apply and factor into our lives to further us. It has come to my attention that there are more books within our curriculum that are perceived as too mature for us teenagers to read. The book currently being talked about, Homegoing, depicts the early events of slavery along the Gold Coast, modern-day Ghana, in America, ultimately educating the readers on what went on behind the triangular trade. The book explores other cultures, demonstrating what they experienced in this time, benefiting the reader with knowledge and the historical truths behind both ours and other countries' past. With the class I'm currently enrolled in, being honors multicultural, we are prone to discussion about other cultures and literature, as the name implies, at a level slightly more proficient, requiring us to really look in and analyze what's going on. When signing up for this class, we signed up for what the class entails. We expected discussion to not be simple or easy, but having us delve into cultures as a whole. Now, because I was taught in Higley to look at multiple perspectives and angles, I can understand as to how some parents disapprove of the content found within the novels. But we are teenagers. We are about to make a giant leap into our future, college or other endeavors. We teenagers will soon be going off on our own, allowing us to make informed decisions by ourselves due to the result of furthering our outlook on what our world and community has endured, ultimately crafting us into worldly citizens. Now to conclude, I would love to shout out HUSD, the teachers within it, as well as the courses provided, such as these, Honors Multicultural Literature, promoting academic excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ginger Churchill.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Some background on me. I'm a mom of 5. I have a student in the multicultural literature class. When I was a student, a senior, way back in 1989, I was in a competition and asked to give an extemporaneous speech on which amendment of the Bill of Rights I thought was most important. I popped up and just started talking, and I said freedom of religion, the First Amendment. And I said, because when a country tries to control religion, they're trying to control what we believe, what we know, value, the things we contemplate, even where we go, what we do, and how we live. Like that has no place in free government. And it's often caused from fear of the government trying to control how people live and believe and what they do. Now, we know books can be powerful. These kids are talking about a book they haven't even finished yet, and they are going, and I'm sorry, it's a hard book to read. I'm reading it with my child. It's deep, it's intense, and it's amazing. Books are powerful. They teach us many things, obviously. They help define our beliefs and help us examine our beliefs. They give us values or show us maybe why we don't value that same thing. They give us things to contemplate, maybe inspire us where we want to go, what we want to do, and how we want to live. You can tell where I'm going with this, that when the Founding Fathers protected these rights by protecting freedom of religion, they were protecting these values that books bring to us. And as I looked it up, the First Amendment also protects freedom of speech and freedom of press. As a whole, they were protecting ideas, values, information, allowing for freedom of thought and free society. When I was a senior as well, we had permission slips to read Catch-22, and our teacher said anyone who didn't want to read it could read Anna Karenina if that was approved. One of my best friends just didn't want to read Catch-22. She read Anna Karenina. Great. She did great. She got, I don't know, a 5 on the AP test. I don't know. But we had that choice. That is exactly the same choice my child had in their class with Miss O'Brien. And it keeps the rights and responsibilities where they belong. Teacher, parents. I would be really offended if Mr. Johnson on the corner said my kid couldn't read a book, and so we had to go along with that. I don't think that is at all anything that belongs in our free country. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kim Jackson.
Board members, my name is Kim Jackson. I have 2 children currently enrolled in HUSD and 1 who has graduated from HUSD. I addressed you all during May's board meeting, and I wanted to follow up on the cell phone towers as it's on the agenda tonight. The district has yet to hold the town hall meeting that you, as a board, voted yes on. Today's agenda is to discuss the contract and its termination. You all canceling their contract, the one that should have never been entered into because the board did not give direction for the district to sign, does not cancel out the need for the town hall. There are 2 schools in our district that have cell phone towers on them and, to my knowledge, are generating revenue for this district. The district has an obligation to converse with the community of teachers, admin, parents, and students about these towers and the pros and cons of them when it comes to their health and safety, as well as the revenue that is bringing into the district and how those funds are being utilized. This info would help you, the board, ultimately know how to handle any other opportunities that may be presented to the district with new towers on other properties in the district. My call for action from the board is to have the town hall meeting like you promised. Tell the district to put the date on the calendar and properly inform those in the district so that they can choose to participate or not. On to books. Books in this district have been a hot topic recently, and it's causing divide and concern for many on how to move through and forward on the topic. Board Member Wade, during your campaign for the position you now hold as a board member, you said on October 18th, 2022, quote, "I know how to ask questions, I know how to listen, and I believe in the effectiveness of collaboration because that is what is necessary when you serve a community filled with diverse beliefs and needs." Later on that post, you said, quote, "There are differences of opinion on how to accomplish that goal, but are willing to put in the work to find the best solution that benefits the whole community." You continued, quote, "My focus and intent is to ensure the betterment of each and every student because at the end of the day, the students are what matters." I bring this up because I agree with you, Board Member Wade, and I support your words. There are people in this room who will continue to present concerns or issues they believe to be true, and you all as board members may not agree. As Board Member Wade said, students matter, and I'll add that teachers matter too equally. We need to work together. I implore you to practice and exemplify the words Board Member Wade has shared. We need to stop fighting and come together. I'm committed to making efforts alongside various peers, volunteers, teachers, and admin to help the board and district find success for our kids and their teachers. I want to close and wanted to mention Ms. Holman and Mr. Mullen. They are teachers of the 8th grade intervention English class at Sossaman. Their advocacy and creativity used to teach their students has exceeded my expectations, and I want to publicly thank them for their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Richards or Mr. Moore, will you keep the board and the community abreast on if there's going to be any town hall meetings for
President Anderson, can we wait till the end of public comment, or was that the end?
Oh, that was just based on her. Do you want me to state that at the very end of it? You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And next is Bob Parrish.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board, and the cabinet members. My name is Bob Parrish. I'm a retired commander from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. On May 8th, I spoke before this board regarding my granddaughter being assigned an independent reading assignment that contained extremely sexually explicit material. At the time of the assignment, there were no alternative reads listed for the students to choose from. The parental consent form provided no content warnings and only required a parent's signature. I pointed out that was in violation of House Bill 2495, which was designed to protect students from sexually explicit material. I also read you an excerpt from the novel 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult to demonstrate how sexually explicit the book was. After the board meeting, I spoke with 2 of the school board members who apologized for the assignment. They said they were appalled by what the kids were being asked to read. On May 9, 2024, I met with David Lautzenheiser, the Executive Director of Secondary Education. He also apologized for what had happened. He assured me that both the teacher and the principal had been talked to, received discipline over the incident, though he couldn't disclose what it was. He also told me that Higley High School had no such assignment and that Williamsfield High School would not have such assignments going forward. On July 30th, I was contacted by a parent who had a student at the Williamsfield High School. I was then contacted by a second parent. Both of them made me aware that another similar assignment had been issued. They received no consent forms to sign, and there were no alternative books for the students to choose from. I would like to warn the audience that I'll be reading excerpts from one of the recently assigned books in the most recent assignment. The excerpts are extremely sexually explicit, so I would ask that you leave now if you have any minor children present. After speaking with both parents and made contact with David Lautzenheiser, he was aware of the complaints, but assured me that the books were not as bad as in our case. I then researched one of the assigned novels titled The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. The book is about an 11-year-old girl who was raped by her father. A simple internet search showed that there were 12 pages of objectionable content. I've heard some of the other speakers talk about beliefs, opinions, and different cultures that these books teach about. I'm more concerned about what's being said in these books. Here are several passages. He must rest his weight on his elbows when they make love to avoid hurting her breast. She hopes he will not sweat, the damp may get into her hair, and that she will remain dry between her legs. She hates the glucking sound that they make when she is moist. The confused mixture of his memories of Pauline and the doing of a wild, forbidden thing excited him, and a bolt of desire ran down his genitals, giving it length and softening the lips of his anus. He wanted to fuck her tenderly, but the tightness of her vagina was more than he could bear. This goes on, 12 pages. Kids don't need to hear this in school. After reviewing this book, I contacted Superintendent Sherry Richards to make sure that she was aware of the assignment and that several minor students were assigned to read it without consent from their parents. We have now seen multiple incidents of minors being improperly assigned to read books that contain sexually explicit materials at HUSD. I would like to know why this is happening again after I was assured by David Lautzenheiser it would not. HUSD should consider hiring staff with the moral fortitude to prohibit such reading assignments. Why is the law not being followed in this case? I took note that HUSD has 41 approved books that fall under the Title 15-120. I would recommend parents that had minor children who were exposed to sexually explicit material without their consent contact Gilbert Police Department and request a police report be taken and submitted to the county attorney for charges. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Next, we have Charles, Villafranca.
Madam President, Vice President of the Board, I have some material for you I was told I could bring. I'm not sure who I give this to hand to the board members. And I know that it's eating up my time, but I was told I could bring this, so I made copies for each of you. I am here tonight to discuss that I, a parent, was never given a consent, ever, under ARS 15-120.03, for my son to read a book that went against all of our teaching values in my home. My parental rights were stripped. Never did I receive anything. I've reached out to the superintendent's office multiple times and have never received a call from the superintendent to discuss this matter, or else I wouldn't be here. Unfortunately, that never has occurred. So my concern that I've outlined in here with evidence, the emails that I received from the teacher showing that the book was given to my son by the teacher, the syllabus having nothing listed on there as sexually explicit material at all. Nothing was discussed on an email that sexual explicit material was being given, yet finally on July the 31st, I was then given a consent by Mr. Dolan in a meeting with Mr. Dolan in his office, as he stated that he had just received this the day prior, July 30th, from the board's office. The 25th, my son was given the book. I'm not understanding why that delay occurred and why I was not given an option with my parental rights. So I have it outlined here. I know that the Speaker of the House is very interested in this case. I have sent it to him as well, the Attorney General's office, and anyone else that would listen. I am not here to ban books. I am here to make sure that I, a parent, have the right that is given to me under the law. And yes, the United States Supreme Court has ruled on this, that it is not protected by the First Amendment. Not this content, not for minors under the age of 18. That's the law. And I've cited 5 U.S. Supreme Court cases against school boards for this exact material and the exact rights that parents have that this district has violated again and again. I have requested, I have received nothing. I have emailed each of you and received nothing. And I'm not understanding why. I did meet with Mr. David. I got no answers other than the fact that these books offer literary value. And my response is, can't non-sexual books that discuss bestiality, pedophilia, and all of that, can't we use non-sexual books to do the same and get the same result? My only concern is the violation, I'm going to leave it here for you all, is the violation of my parental rights to make the decision for my child. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we going to give those to Ms. Zimmerman? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Going back to my request that was too soon, can we please keep the board and the community informed if there's going to be a town hall regarding the cell tower, if there's any plans of that?
So, President Anderson, members of the board, I know Mr. Moore has an action item to cancel the agreement with Verizon. So when we went back and viewed the minutes from that board meeting, it was mentioned having a town hall for the Sossaman community related to that cell phone tower. And then it's, the way I interpreted it, it was tabled. So if the board wishes to move forward with the town hall, I believe you guys would have to decide that.
We voted to have a town hall, President Anderson. And whether or not this contract is being terminated, the vote was to have a town hall. And I believe that we should still have a town hall.
President Anderson, Ms. Van Hook, this is Jennifer McLennan, counsel for the district. I would suggest that if one of you wants a town hall to move forward, that you ask for it on a future agenda item at the end of the meeting, and that we proceed forward with the content of your agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
And President Anderson, I do want to address some things that were said during public comment. One of the students mentioned that we are teenagers. That's exactly it. You are teenagers, not adults, to be given adult content to be reading. Another thing Ms. O'Neill mentioned is that...
Madam President, this is Jennifer McLennan again. Ms. Van Hook, I think what you're doing is going beyond responding to criticism.
I am responding to criticism.
Well, I think that you're going a bit beyond, and I've been asked to assist this board in compliance with the open meeting law requirements. So you have 3 choices. You can respond to direct criticism. You can ask that an item be placed on the agenda. You can ask the superintendent to review the matter. Those are your 3 choices, all 5 of you as board members. Thank you.
President Anderson, Ms. McClellan, I am addressing criticism, and she mentioned that a parent was being coached, and when a board member speaks to a parent, that's not coaching, that's our job, to speak to parents. coaching is having students show up to a board meeting to act like activists on behalf of a teacher, and that's, I find, inappropriate. But I would like to make sure that this is addressed. I know we're working on a new policy, but we need to address the books that were possibly previously approved that is creating issues and ensure that our students aren't given sexually explicit material per state law.
All right, moving on to consent agenda. I motion to approve the consent agenda from items 5.1 to 5.20.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I do have a comment about a couple items on the consent agenda, so I guess.
Okay, you were, okay. So we have a motion, so we're going to go to a discussion on an item on the consent?
Yes, sorry. For item, President Anderson, for item 514, I had asked some questions, and in the comments, I received my answers, but I wanted to find out, how do parents know that they can opt out of this? And are they notified in the policy, or how are parents notified that an opt-out is available for their child's data to be shared? I don't know who's supposed to address that.
This is, sorry, Vice President Van Hook. I know Mr. Marcus Berkshire's in the audience, so I'd like him to come up and answer your question. I couldn't see you, so.
President Anderson, Vice President Van Hook, members of the board. The directory information is what is part of this agreement. That directory information is as per JR-R. When a parent enrolls or re-enrolls, they have a permission. Basically, it's an opt-out at that point in time, and they can identify which pieces of the directory information we are not allowed to share. So at that point in time, it's their decision as to what we are allowed to share out as part of that directory information.
President Anderson, Mr. Berkshire, so the parent has to apply to be part of the program?
No.
No.
Okay. So we by approving this agreement, which is a renewal, basically we are reapproving this agreement. You approved this agreement last year. You are allowing us to share information with ASU to allow Helios Center to identify students that could potentially be admitted to ASU, NAU, or U of A. So last year, by your approval, we had approximately 550 of our seniors receive letters saying, rather than actually having to go through and apply to those universities, they were automatically admitted to those universities. We don't know how many of them actually enrolled because school just started, but once we have that information, we'll be happy to share that with you.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure that by us approving, that our approval doesn't automatically give the district the right to share student information. That ultimately, it's up to the parent to allow that.
If the parents opt out when they re-enroll their child, then that information wouldn't be shared.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more. President Anderson, I also have a question about 5.13. I'm sorry, I lost my number here. 5.17, first thing first. One of the answers was that what type of health screenings that are done, and it includes the hearing and vision screenings. But I was shocked to learn that this information is then shared with the Arizona Department of Health. I personally opt my children out of vision and hearing screenings because I do that on my own with their own physicians. But are parents notified? I didn't know. Like, at what point should we be notifying parents that their children's information is being shared along with these screenings? And what additional screenings, aside from the hearing and vision, are being done and shared with ADHS?
President Anderson, sorry. If I can kind of jump in, because I'm familiar with the First Things First, Quality First Scholarship Program. That is, vision screenings, health screenings are an option, and parents are notified on a certain day that this is, and these are preschoolers, these aren't at the elementary schools, these are 0 to 5, but it's at our preschool since we go 3 to 5 there. And parents are notified that there will be a dental screening or a health screening. The Quality First partners with many different areas too. For Chandler Regional Dental, they'll come out and do dental screenings. Those are, our parents have to sign for those, they're aware. Same with the vision, things like that, they're aware. On a certain day, they're gonna be doing vision screenings. They can choose to not have their child do that. Same with hearing, all of that. So parents are notified that these things are happening, and they can choose to opt out. It's provided through the Quality First program.
President Anderson, Board Member Reese, I'm not sure if that's similar to what the district's doing. I know as far as your work, so same program, but is it different for a government entity versus a private business? Turn your mic on.
No, it's all Quality First. It is a separate program that's ran specifically. You have to be a Quality First site, and they provide these things at all of their Quality First sites. So it's not every site. If you're a Quality First site, then those are things that can happen. It's not any different for any government entities.
So parents are notified that this is occurring, the screenings are occurring, but are parents notified that their child's information is then being shared with DHS?
Can you speak to that? Well, there's a permission slip they have to sign. So it tells them all about the screening, what they're doing, who's doing it, and it provides them all that information. So I know ours, we choose to do the dental screenings, and that's done through Chandler Regional for their dental. And it has all the information on who's going to get that data, what it is. And primarily on the information, it's child's name, date of birth, parent's name, address, and a signature that, yes, they'll allow their kids to do that or not.
Vice President Van Hook, we can follow up too and get that exact process that we utilize with our early childhood director, Ms. Amy Coaches. So
That would be wonderful, please. And I'd love to be able to see that permission slip to see what exactly is parents are getting. Thank you.
Just for point of clarification, President Anderson, this is for our early childhood development. It's not done K through 12, this specific thing. So for those parents who are like, I've never had an experience with this, that is probably either A, you didn't have your kid in one of our preschools or a preschool that did it specifically or in preschool at all kind of deal. But
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and vote just to make sure it's clear who's voting, since we have the motion and the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0.
President Anderson, if I could make a quick comment.
Tiffany.
I know we approved some field trips. I just want to ask that for the future. I know these field trips went and checked all the check marks were in place and they met all the criteria. These are some very expensive field trips. And I'd just like to ask in the future that we consider the cost of the trips and the financial burden we're putting on families. Some of these trips are around $2,500 per student. And some of these groups have multiple trips in a year. And so we're putting a huge financial burden on families. I know they're doing fundraising, but fundraising can only go so far as well. So they did meet all of our criteria. It did go through our process. It got the pre-approvals to hit our board packet. I would just like to ask that we be cognizant of the cost of field trips that we are approving.
All right, thank you. All right, going on to the information items, 6.1, career and technical education update.
Good evening, President Anderson, board members, HUSD cabinet. My name is Craig Pearson. I'm the Assistant Director of Career and Technical Education for the district, and I'm excited to be here in front of you again tonight to share an update on our career and technical education programs here at the district. So, as you're aware, we're going to pause for a moment here. Thank you, Superintendent Richards. Career and technical education is aligned very well with our strategic plan and our strategic anchors. At the bottom of this page here, I've highlighted some of the more obvious strategic anchors that we are aligned to in all four of the strategic areas. Currently, for the 24-25 school year, these are the program offerings at both Williamsfield and Higley High School. I believe these have been the same for the last 3 years, so there's not been any change in the career and technical education programs offered at either of the high schools over that period of time. Our current enrollment for this year is 2,747 students are participating in a career and technical education program at the Higley Unified High Schools, Unified District's 2 high schools. We also have 393 students participating in CTE at EVIT Central Campus. This represents a 17.5% growth over the past 5 years for HUSD programs, as well as 102.5% growth in program participation at the EVIT Central campuses. So career and technical education, as you're aware, is a hot topic right now, and parents are opting students and students are opting into these programs at a higher rate than they have in the past. So, click. Each of our CTE programs that we offer are aligned to an industry credential that's recognized by the state. And so here you see that list. There's a total of 22 unique certifications that our students can earn through CTE to make them career ready today. Click. As well as being aligned to our certifications that they can get to be job ready today. We currently offer 108 dual enrollment credits through our CTE programs between our partner school districts, or our partner post-secondary partners, mainly Maricopa Community Colleges, as well as Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Oh, great. CTE programs are currently participating in regional advisory boards. We've been doing this for about 2.5 years now. We participate in our regional advisory boards with both the Queen Creek and the Combs School District. The purpose of doing this at a regional basis is that our programs where a lot of times our teachers are a single teacher at a site or a single teacher in a program for our district, allows them to collaborate with other teachers in the geographic area. It also allows us to pool our resources of industry partners so that they have a wider audience of industry partners and business partners for them to be able to work with in order to give our students opportunities in work-based learning. So the way that the regional advisory boards work is we meet together in career clusters, so health careers, communication, media technology, human services, and then we break out into individual program groups. So then in our health careers, we would break out our sports medicine and our biotechnology into their program groups at these meetings. They meet semi-annually to discuss industry needs and create a common action plan known as a program of work for the program. So we listen to the input from our industry and business partners. We create a program of work to help address those needs, whether through curriculum or through opportunities with our business partners for our students to be able to go visit a facility in their area. And then we act upon that program of work throughout the year. Our programs then come back and work locally with other business and industry partners that may not have been able to participate at the regional level, and we put that plan of action to work. So we've been doing this for about, like I said, 2.5 years. We've found some really good success here in building strong advisory boards. Every year, our CTE programs are rated on 8 criteria by the state of Arizona. The first 4 are more generalized to our students' education, so graduation rate, reading language proficiency, math proficiency, and science proficiency. As you can see here for last year, our district as a whole and each school individually met the state's level of performance in each of those areas. The bottom 4 are specific to CTE. So student placement after high school graduation, non-traditional participation in programs that are deemed to have a non-traditional audience, industry recognized credentials, and the technical skills assessment given by the state. For our senior population of last year who graduated, I just want to note here our industry recognized credentials. Our percentage of seniors that received an industry credential in their program at the time of completion was 89.9%, and you can see the state's goal was 30.6. So we kind of crushed that one. Same thing with our TSA, 88.9% of our students who completed a program passed the TSA. The state's goal there was a 63.9. Last year was a red letter year for us, as well as we had our 5-year monitoring from the state of Arizona. The 5-year monitoring requires us to document and send documentation to the state showing our work in our CTE programs. There were 12 compliance indicators for each program, and then there were 35 quality indicators for each program. So we went through a process over the last 1.5 years preparing documents in our professional development days. We had some professional development outside of contract hours. Our teachers worked on preparing all of this documentation and evidence of their programs. And when we got the report in early December of last year, as expected, all of our programs met the compliance indicators, but all of our programs also met enough of the quality indicators to be rated as distinguished programs. So every single one of our programs was rated by distinguished in quality by the state of Arizona. And to my understanding, that puts us in a small category of about 5 or 6 school districts across the state. So. CTE funding, here's a breakdown of our funding from last year. As we never get our full funding until midway through the year, and so we don't know what our funding is specific for this year, but for last year, we received funding through 3 major areas, and then we also had an integrated grant last year as well. So one of our funding sources is our CTED satellite funding. It's our major funding, and it comes through the state through our CTED EVIT. We received $2.3 million approximately last year. We also received a state Perkins grant of $167,000, and then our state priority matching grant was $117,000. Like I said, CTE also applied through our regional advisory board. We applied for a innovative grant, and were granted an additional $58,000 last year that was used to help strengthen our regional advisory boards. So that was our budget. You can see at the bottom there is a breakdown of the categories of where the majority of that money is spent. A lot on supplies and equipment for the programs. To date, I have not had to tell a program that they can't get something that they want as long as they can justify how it meets the standard for the program. Some highlights of our Higley HUSD CTE programs. CTE students last year, for the kids that completed a program last year, we had over 500 industry certifications earned, with 96.3% of our completers earning at least one certification. Our CTE, our CTSOs like HOSA, DECA, Skills USA sent over 100 students to compete nationally in 2024 in various competitions and brought back dozens of awards and medals to display in their classrooms, their schools, to sing praises of their students. Our early childhood education program, which I know is near and dear to us, at least one of our board members, has done a tremendous job going from a fledgling program 3 years ago to where we now have students doing interning at both of our early childhood development centers, many of our elementary schools, and other preschools around the surrounding area. Our Early Childhood Development Center has actually hired a couple of our graduates as paraprofessionals in their programs as they continue their education, and we look forward to them hiring their first teacher from our program in the next few years. Our sports medicine program is partnering with Chandler Gilbert Community College and the National Association of Sports Medicine to create a new pathway for the state of Arizona in exercise science and personal training. So as we roll out our course guide this year, you'll see a pathway in there. This year, as we're working on the approval of that through the state, we're going to run the program under sports medicine. But we are looking to that to be a separate program, hopefully in the near future, developed by Higley Unified and our partners. And last but not least, criminal justice continues to be our largest program in the district. We have 559 students currently participating in that program. So about 1 in 5 CTE students in Higley are in that program. Some possible future opportunities is to continue aligning some of our middle school exploratory programs with the high school pathways to provide a purposeful continuation of programs. I know this year we worked with Cooley Middle School to add a graphic design and digital photography program there that then feeds into our high school graphic design and digital photography programs. Our robotics programs at the middle schools already feed into our engineering programs at the high schools, and they have really strong partnerships. So we're looking at other ways that we can align some of our other middle school offerings to do the same. As I mentioned, we're looking to add an expanded sports medicine program for exercise science and personal training. We're currently updating our sports medicine training labs at both the Higley High School and Williamsfield High School. One of the unique opportunities we had is when we built our field houses, we kind of abandoned the spaces where we had trainers' rooms in the old buildings, so in the 600 building at Williamsfield and the 700 building at Higley High School. And so we are revitalizing those rooms now as labs for our sports medicine programs to be able to go through a simulated lab experience like they would have if they were in the trainer's room, but it will be teacher-led, and so those will be finished. They're 80% finished now. They'll be 100% finished probably by the end of the first quarter. And then we're going to continue focusing on program outcomes. So certifications, licensures, pass rates. Our current pass rate last year was 89.3% for students who completed a program, and that was with a 96.3% participation rate in the certification. So we don't limit who gets to take the certification exam. We aspire to make sure every student who completes a program takes the certification, and of that, we had 89.3% of our students actually pass the certification exam. So what questions might you have for me tonight?
I just have a question, and you might not know the answer, so I'll get it. But as far as the graphic design program at Cooley, do we know how many have enrolled in that program? If, like I said, you could, it can wait till status, or I just wondered, you know, how successful or how it's been over there.
Yeah, I can get that information and update that in status.
Okay, awesome, thank you. You're doing an amazing job, as always, with the CTE program. I'm always impressed by the numbers and everything involved with it, so amazing job. Thank you.
I'm going to pass all that praise hopefully on to my teachers
Yes,
for
please
the
do.
wonderful work that they do. It would not be possible without the wonderful staff that we have.
Absolutely, yes, everyone involved in the CTE program.
President Anderson, Member Schultz, can I plug the graphic design program? Craig was grateful enough to allow the print shop to go and solicit. We have a student internship opportunity for both our high school graphic design programs. And so we had over 17 applicants. And so we're looking to give students in those programs an opportunity to have real world examples to assist in our print shop, who's been growing robustly with business. So I do want to shout out Craig for creating an opportunity
that's
for a print
amazing.
shop. So.
Mr. Moore, how many internships were available in the printing shop? I know you said you had 17 applicants, but 2? Okay.
One from each high school, yeah.
Oh, perfect, awesome, thank you, that's amazing.
Phenomenal. I love this program. I love that you guys, teachers and everybody, are changing lives. Just in my 10th year of teaching, and it's the CTE kids, it's the JROTC kids that are some of the best students, because they feel like they have a path where there's so many that don't. They just plug and plug and plug to get good scores and go to college. But this really lays out that path for them. So teachers, parents, students, admin, well done. Great job, and thank you for all that you have done.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to 6.2, the superintendent evaluation instrument discussion.
President Anderson, members of the board, you guys recently approved the governing board initiatives and goals for the 24-25 school year. In years past, we always update you on progress, but this year we would like to do it quarterly. So when we have our work study in October, we would like to potentially offer this note catching tool that's up there. And this just aligns directly to our strategic plan and the action steps we want to take and the progress we're making. So obviously on October 15th, we will not have met all of this, but we'll share with you the kind of progress we've made. And this amazing team works really hard with the schools and the departments, but rather than get all the way to the end of the school year, and there be 13 goals here that you have to reflect on, we thought it would be nice to give you a progress document that you can share with us and say, hey, we want to see more of this, or did you forget about this, or so forth. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I appreciate your thoughtfulness. It was a great idea to have this instrument. And as I told Mrs. Richards, coming in as a new board member and going almost straight to an evaluation, that was troublesome in some parts. So I appreciate you thinking forward on this so that we could have a tool to record and update. I wanted to make sure that this got to the board because there are different minds on this dais here, and maybe if you thought of a better way to do it or another structure or a layout, then I wanted to be open for that discussion. But thank you.
Can I say one more thing? Later in the agenda on the action item, you'll see the proposed pay for performance evaluation instrument, which is directly aligned to this, and it's all the same, okay? It's just repetitive, but we were trying to just measure progress. As a teacher, we get measured, more than once a year. So we just want to continually keep working to do what's right for our kids and our community.
President Anderson, Mrs. Richards, I just have one request. Is it possible to make this a fillable PDF so I could just keep all my notes electronically?
We can do that. We
Okay.
have technology.
It's minor, but I prefer that than to paper, then that's okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
President Anderson, this is a really good idea.
Oh, good.
I know for doing superintendent evaluations that I'm always going back through my notes, and I mean, I have notes upon notes, and so having it quarterly, being able to review, know where you're at, and having it as a fillable PDF so people can keep track, I think is really important to be able to have a really good, solid discussion for the superintendent's evaluation. So, thank you.
Thank you.
President Anderson, I just wanted to mention in PDF, you can add text to the file.
I can make a text box, but if I could just make it easier, then if we could just do it, so I didn't have to continue to add a text box to every single time, then that's why. Thank you. Yes, I hate formatting too. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? All right, let's move on to our action items. 7.1. I motion that the governing board approve the superintendent evaluation instrument as presented to the board.
Second.
Do we want any discussion on this or? Okay. So Tiffany, was that a second? Yes. Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.2. I motion that the governing board approve the changes to policy IJNDB, use of technology resources in instruction.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.3. I motion that the governing board approve the changes to policy BBBA, board member qualifications. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.4, I motion that the governing board approve the changes to policy IKF, graduation requirements. Seconded by Ms. Van Hook. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.5, I motion that the governing board approve the termination of the agreement between Higley Unified School District and Verizon Wireless for the cell phone tower at Sossaman Middle School. Anna seconded. Any discussion, questions before we move forward?
I'm assuming the conversation around whether or not we hold a town hall is for the later agenda, because that's not part of this, correct?
Madam President, Board Member Wade, I think if you would like to hold a town hall regarding this issue, that one of you should ask for it in a future agenda item. And
Perfect.
That would
I
be-
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you for the clarification. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 7.6, I motion that the governing board approve the authorization of expenditure in the amount of $1,116. Oh my gosh, $116,568.30. I'm on 7.6? Okay. To FlexPoint, Florida Virtual School for Higley Virtual Academy Curriculum.
Second.
1 second, please. Any discussion, questions?
President Anderson, one of I had asked a question, and one of the responses was this was approved by the board in 2020. And so I wasn't here. So I wanted to find out if there's some sort of a passcode that I can get to be able to see what the curriculum's about. because I wasn't here and I don't know what was actually approved. So if there's an access that I could possibly get to be able to see what it's about.
Vice President Van Hook, Mr. Berkshire is here again to answer your question.
President Anderson, Vice President Van Hook, members of the board. For parents whose students are attending HVA, they can register as an observer and in that way be able to go in and see the entire content of what that course is. In fact, what FlexPoint does is they have a module, it's a standard module in all of their courses. And when you go into that module, there's a syllabus, there's a scope of study, there's pacing. You can pretty much see every single lesson that that child is going to be engaged in, as long as you're registered as an observer in Canvas for that course.
President Anderson, Mr. Berkshire, that's great. I just want to be able to see it for myself. So I'm wondering, how do I, as a non-parent of an HTA student, be able to review the curriculum since it was approved prior to me being on the board? And we're being asked to approve this without me actually knowing what the curriculum is about.
We've been using this curriculum for the last 4 years, and it is standard across the valley. I would have to go back and ask for sandbox permission from FlexPoint. That's not something that they normally give out or we have access to. Once we've approved the purchase of that curriculum, it now becomes something that we load into Canvas for those students and teachers and parents that are in those courses. So I will reach out to them and see what we can work out so that you can have that access, but I can't provide that to you at this time.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, I don't need it like immediately, but if our job as board members is to approve curriculum. We're being asked to approve something that was approved initially in 2020, and I don't know what I'm even approving. I understand it's been used, but I don't know what the curriculum is. So to ask me as a board member to do my job and approve something that I don't even know what I'm approving is not fair to me. So I understand that this is on the agenda. It's, you know, asking for approval. What I'm asking for is if I, as a board member, have the ability to review the curriculum, which is part of my job to do. So I'm hoping that the company understands that as board members, we have a right to be able to review that and that they provide some sort of access.
And I appreciate that. What we're coming to you tonight is to purchase additional licenses, not to approve the curriculum, but I'm happy to work at getting you access to that platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
President Anderson and Superintendent Richards, just for clarification, all of these courses that are in the Higley Virtual Academy, so for example, you have like world history, and then you also have world history in the virtual. Would they not be beholden to the same curriculum requirements that the state has already, and that we have adopted? Like, I get that it's coming from, but it's no different. The way I look at this curriculum, being a teacher during 2020 and going through the Higley Virtual and all of that jazz, ultimately, it's no different than like different books when it comes to how you get that information, and ultimately it's up to the teachers to decide how they release some of those things. And the reason we chose this specific curriculum is because of how it aligned with state requirements and our other courses. So that way an individual who's doing it virtually versus doing it in person is getting the same content. Is that correct?
Correct. FlexPoint is aligned to all Arizona state standards. Additionally, it's NCAA approved, so our students that are taking it through HVA, they qualify to be able to use that coursework to compete at the collegiate level as well. So there's lots of vetting that has gone into that program. Again, it's used by pretty much every virtual academy in the state of Arizona.
Mr. Berkshire, depending on their response, would it be possible for Vice President Van Hook to come in and experience a demo? Like,
certainly,
it might even be helpful because somebody here knows how to navigate stuff.
Yep.
Just a thought.
We can basically go in as staff into a Canvas course, and you can certainly see the content through that route as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. For a vote, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. All those opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I don't know what I know it's additional contracts, but I'd like to be able to see the curriculum, so I'll abstain.
Okay. Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention. 4 to 1 abstention. All right, moving on to future agenda items. Anybody have any requests that they'd like to put forward?
Town hall, please, President Anderson. And I would like to also look into the counselor policy. I know the Attorney General's opinion came back, so I'd like to discuss that as well.
Do you have that policy by chance?
I don't remember what I'll get you the number, but I don't know it offhand.
President Anderson, we have that, and so we'll be happy to put that on the agenda. Thank you.
President Anderson, Ms. McClellan, I didn't get a chance at the end of public speaking to direct staff. Is this okay for me at this time, or can I not?
Madam.
For a future.
Schultz, you can't address criticism at public comment except after the public comment. So it would not be appropriate for you to address criticism now?
It's not addressing criticism. It's directing staff to look into a matter.
This is the agenda item where the only thing that you can do is ask for a future agenda item to be placed on your agenda for the board to consider. So it would not be appropriate for you to direct staff to look into an issue, but you certainly can send an email to your superintendent to ask for that.
Okay. All right, any other requests?
Not at this time.
Okay, moving on to 10.1, the adjournment. I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
So I'm going to go ahead and give this to them.
No, I haven't done any of that.
Okay. I think that what we should do is give these to Christine to scan to them, and then you also can send your responsive information. So